This is for the archives at Hamilton College.
Ah, right.
George, I've often wondered how an Englishman like you comes to the point you are with the music and the legacy and the history of the music, and to understand it so well, and to go to innovations of your own from where you came from, relating to this music. How did you get to this music? I want to know. The jazz, that good sound thing that you give us all over.
I was brought up on Jimmy Lunsford.
Oh.
Yes. Yes, indeed.
Oh, man.
There was an all-blind band in 1937. 15 musicians, 15 blind guys taught to be musicians, from being chair cleaners, basket makers, and
What?
they were they cane chairs.
Oh.
They made baskets, and they were taught to play instruments and be musicians. And the scores were done in Braille.
Oh, man.
We had Lunsford's Stratosphere, Benny Carter's Nightfall.
Oh, my God. Did you have his sleep, too?
Yeah, we had all the Braille charts, and I'm the only one that didn't need it, and I pick it up by ear right away. The theme song with the band, by the way, was "I'll See You in My Dreams."
Oh, my God.
And the only fully sighted man was a man named Claude Bampton, who was kind of a semi-professional band leader in England. And he had this huge baton, you know. I'll see you in my dreams. Well, one night, you know, blind people always have to set up in a theater a little bit earlier than the sighted. It takes us a bit longer. And Claude said, "Okay, fellas, you ready?" One guy said, "No, just a minute. Lost my eye." His glass eye had fallen out, rolled across the stage, and there's 15 blind guys down on the floor.
Oh, wait a minute,
for this
George.
eye. I kid you not. This is the God's honest truth. 15 blind guys down on the floor looking for this eye.
And you
They found it. They didn't massacre it at all. They found it. He put it in. I'll see you in. One night, as a matter of fact, we were at Benny Carter's house for dinner, and I had a tape recorder with me. And I had a recording of the band, the all-blind band, playing Nightfall.
Right.
And he said, "Who is it?" I said, "Well, you know the tune, don't you?" "Yeah." So I explained to him about the all-blind band. So I guess, you know, there was, jazz came into England.
Yeah.
And we copy. I mean,
Yes.
we copy.
But you went on to innovation, though, you know. Went from assimilation to innovation, you know.
I've always wanted to come here since I was about 16. And the war, of course, was going on. I was born in 19, a year later than you, Joe.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
we're young people. We are
well,
70
yes,
years young.
Yes, indeed, yeah. What did U.B. Blake say? He says, "If I'd known I was going to live this long, I'd have taken better care of myself." But anyway, I always wanted to come to the States. And you know how it is, you know, when you hear Torme's California Suite, you say,
yes.
"Oh, boy, California," you know.
Yeah.
Walk along Hollywood Boulevard and, so this is Hollywood Boulevard. But the way it's built up, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
I came over first on the boat, on the America. And I literally landed in New York, put my foot on the ground. I said, "This is where it all started."
Yes.
This was 1946.
Right.
I was born in 19, so what was I, 27?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Then you met John Levy in the group here.
John
huh?
Levy, met John Levy in the group, and John Levy did recording with me before, about the same time the quintet started.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, 1949.
Did you get a chance to meet and listen to Louis Armstrong in person?
Yeah.
It-
Oh, yeah.
You did?
Yeah.
Because he was part of our beginnings too.
Oh,
Yeah.
gosh.
So simple. So,
I'll
and
never
yet
forget
complex.
one
Go ahead.
wonderful thing with Louis,
Yeah.
Louis Armstrong. I had the quintet in the, I want to say Casino Theater in Toronto.
Uh-huh.
And around the corner from there was a restaurant. I took the guys to dinner. And everything had sauce upon sauce upon sauce. So I ate the banana fritters, which was the only plain thing I could find. And in comes Louis, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, he said, dig old Shearing getting in on the freebies there. He said, that cat's eating so fast, he looks like he's smiling.
Oh, Louis was a great tease.
Unfortunately, I never got over here in time to hear the Lunsford Band.
Oh, man. Well, I can tell you, anybody who did can tell you what an experience that was. They would swing you into bad health.
Great show band, too, weren't they?
Yes, it was.
When I played those shout things, they'd all front line stand up, and great show band.
Oh, man,
Yeah.
they would play the music for people like the Miller Brothers and Lois.
Yeah.
And
Oh.
what is that? The tap dancing teams,
Yeah.
and for ballroom dance. They played everything absolutely elegant. What's that thing they played? Da doo dee doo.
Yes, Prelude number
Prelude
7.
number 7.
Prelude number 7.
Oh man.
Chopin.
And old
And
Willie.
old Willie Smith.
Oh, Willie with that beautiful tone. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, yeah. Willie Smith and that whole bunch. But they could swing you into, dance you to death. When they would start playing River St. Marie,
Oh.
and they change keys.
Yeah.
You know, they say, yeah,
Yeah.
down.
Yeah.
Ain't do do hi do do. Oh man.
Ellie and I talk all the time about the time that we went to Rockefeller Center for
Yeah.
New Year's and danced to Cy Oliver.
Oh.
And I said, can you give me a Lunsford festival? You played several Lunsford charts, you know.
Yes.
I said, Ellie, this is as close you're going to get.
Yeah.
But it's just, you know, but, oh, that band.
They would dance us to death when they'd come to Chicago. You know, every
Yeah.
number. And the ballads were just as pretty. And
Well,
just
you
as
and
perfect.
I have experienced some things with the Basie tour,
Yes.
night after night after
Yes,
night. With the,
yes. Listening to Sarah
Right.
Vaughan and Jimmy Jones.
Yeah.
And
Good Lord.
Richard Davis and
Yeah.
Roy Haynes.
Oh, yeah.
With the Basie band.
Yeah.
Playing those wonderful charts. Some by Al Cohen, some by Ernie Wilkins. You know.
And Quincy.
And Quincy too, yeah. She had charts by
Yeah.
Quincy at that time.
Uh-huh.
And we'd dash in there, we'd get in the audience. You'd be wet. I remember you had your
Yeah.
towel on and
Get out
sit-
there.
Yes, and listen to her
Sure.
and that group make music. Well, but there was a lot of things happening musically. You became very innovative though with the Latin rhythms. As I went through your Latin period there, that was very exciting, I thought.
That's because before the quintet even, Buddy DeFranco, John Levy on bass, Denzel Best on drums, and me, before the quintet, in the Click Club in New York,
Uh-huh.
opposite the Machito band.
Ah.
And when I start thinking about that, I could hear rhythmic complexity there in that thing that was even ahead of some more simplified forms of jazz.
Right.
Because in true African style, they would blend 3 or 4 rhythms together.
Yes.
A
Yes.
conga drum, 4-and,
Yes.
4-and, you know.
Yes.
And then the cowbell.
Yes. And the bass going. And the bass.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Yeah, the bass
Yeah,
would be,
yeah.
they put so much.
Every one of those rhythms would just blend together.
Yes. Yes, I was listening to something, Tito, on the air just yesterday when I was flying in.
Yeah.
One of those things, and they were just so beautifully laid
Oh,
out.
yeah.
Until, you couldn't help but be moved, you know, on the plane.
Yeah.
You find yourself
Yeah.
beating and adding things and anticipating, and then taking that heartbeat thing that they could lay in there, like
That's
love
right.
dub.
Yeah, right.
Love dub.
Yeah, yeah, right.
And the drum was in tune, you know.
That's right.
Oh,
But
man.
nobody played the same
No.
thing. Nobody.
No, they get
You know-
a
That's right. There's this wonderful,
Dub.
there's this wonderful story. There's this wonderful story about the Indian that came over here and played jazz for a while, and he went back home, you know. And they said, you know, you've been in America too long. Why don't you make it simple? You know, put the sock symbol on 2, 7, and 11, and 13.
Oh, I love it. I love it. 211. Oh my God, that is beautiful. It did get a little out there. Dizzy Gillespie and the fellas kind of upset up.
Oh, he was very authentic.
Oh,
Dizzy.
there you go.
George Chalaposo, you know.
There you go. That
And
was
that's where McKibben
yes.
learned
Yes.
all that stuff, from Chalaposo. And then, of course, McKibben came with me and Jada, Cal
Yes.
Jada,
Yeah.
and then Armando.
Armando Perez.
Oh, boy. And I remember one day Max said to me, I'm going to play something. You tell me where one is. I said, how's that again? He said, 1, ding, 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 1, ding, 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 ding.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Dibby, dibby, ding, da, ding, 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 dong, dibby, dibby, ding, dong, dong. Ding, 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 ding,
Yeah,
ding,
yeah.
ding.
But one was out there. Oh, one was in front of the bar.
Yeah,
One, do dee dee do.
yeah. And that's before Charlie Hayden.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it still works out. The simple things, I think, are really more moving, and
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
they do it better than anything.
Yeah.
As the guy says, keep it simple, stupid.
Yeah.
Because nobody needs to know how clever. You don't have to show anybody how clever you are. I mean, when you're playing two people, I think if you keep it simple, you're going to be a big success. And that's the way I look at that. Now, your wife is over there buttering.
Yeah, yeah.
She's buttering something.
And butters me up.
Oh my God. George, I want to ask you something. I'm not so familiar with the computer age and what is happening with computers. And I'd like to ask you, what do you think, how is it going to help the music and bring our audiences to the live performances, where is what it's really about, because they can't do anything on the electronics that would compare with a live, breathing performer. But do you think it's going to help? Will it maybe enlarge our audience?
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
I don't think so.
Internet's- no?
Because it's through the advancement of technology that we have tapes and CDs and everything in our homes. And you take a day like this day that we're doing this tape, you have a choice of going home and listening to a definitive performance, or going out and hearing a live definitive performance. And while nothing will take
the place of it.
Place of live performance. Certainly home performances can be pretty good, and you can go make yourself a cup of tea in the middle of it if you want. I don't know, I wish I had a better outlook on it, but I really don't.
Well,
You
I
agree
guess-
with that, by the way?
I guess that we were lucky in a way that when I started, and you too, we played for dancing.
Oh, yeah.
And sang for dancing. And dancing brought people together. Girls and boys got together and danced. And fraternized and what have you. And it's something, if people just being made aware of the music and listening to the music at home with all of its enhancements, say, would like, gee, I think I'd like to be there. I think it would be nice. If we could only, some way we could get the kids dancing again, the way they used to, I think it would be marvelous.
A lot of that is visual, I guess.
Yes. But
And,
no, feeling too.
Yeah.
The feeling of holding
Yeah.
someone in your arms and touching. And not only that, switching partners. I mean, friends, they dance with each other, you know. Yeah, boys and boys sometimes. Girls and girls. And now there's nothing wrong with it. Used to be, they'd say, oops.
Yeah, right.
But now there's nothing wrong with it, you know. If they feel like it, I guess it's okay.
How many big bands are there today to go and hear in person?
I don't know.
Not a great many, huh?
No, I don't know.
I mean, remember the time, you go to hotels in the city of New York.
Yes.
You get Ray McKinley in one place, and you get Ellington in the place, and you get,
Yes. That's the way it was.
not anymore. In fact, even when I came over in 1946 and 47, you think, oh, go here because Kenton is here.
Yeah,
But he played artistry and rhythm,
yeah.
and then maybe one more song. Then he's accompanying the show.
Oh.
So that's fine, but you don't hear very much of the band. But then there are all the clubs, like Club de Lisa.
Yeah,
And you go down there and hear Red Saunders cut that show.
yeah.
Oh,
And then play for dancing.
yeah.
Yeah. That was a wonderful time. I used to listen to the broadcast coming from the different hotels, too.
Yes.
You know, Benny Goodman and Woody Herman, Gus Arnheim, Coon Saunders, Lunsford, of course, and Basie and Andy Kirk and Ellington. I remember a great band that I heard, besides Chick Webb. Benny Carter had a band broadcasting from ballrooms here in New York City. And had Eddie, what's his name, Canadian Sunset. Had him on piano, in fact.
Who was that?
Eddie, what was the guy that played Canadian Sunset? Had such a big hit.
Eddie.
Canadian Sunset. Anyway. Huh? Who? Haywood.
Haywood,
Yeah,
yeah.
Eddie Haywood, yes. Haywood, yeah. Yeah, Leslie Gorse over there. Tell us, thank you, Leslie. Yeah, Eddie Haywood on piano. He got sleepy dee doo dee doo doo dee
Yeah.
doo 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 dee doo
Yeah.
doo, and Eddie was flying.
Yeah, right.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I heard them broadcasts. I was in Chicago and I heard that. And we had a man named Bob Hawke in Chicago.
Really?
broadcast a thing called Red Hot and Low Down. And his theme was East St. Louis Toodaloo, Duke's original theme.
Oh. Oh. Can you separate Duke and Strayhorn, who wrote what? And can you tell by listening who wrote?
Sometimes, yeah, but I have to sit and listen. I have to really listen. And
Because they truly are an extension of each other, aren't they? Ellington and Strayhorn.
That's such a happy union.
Yeah.
You know, I think he wanted to be like that. You
Yeah.
know, with Tom Whaley, who also was a wonderful musician. To hear Duke tell him what he was going to do, and that was an experience. Hear him tell Tom Whaley, well, here, do our thing here, and, you know, be natural here, where, you know, run this thing down, you know, what we do, do our thing here.
Yeah.
And he said, oh, I know what you mean.
Yeah, all right.
Anybody else? Jimmy Jones is there, and,
Right.
and Strayhorn was there.
Yeah.
And I said, what the heck are they talking about?
Yeah. You know, a philosophy that Duke had, I always found very interesting. You get a new man in the band, and he would very rarely ask that man to play like so-and-so and so-and-so. He said, I don't want that. I want that man to contribute what he has to contribute.
There you go. That was Ellington, that was Basie.
Yeah.
Basie had more people come through there, and it's whatever you had to contribute. That was what I was telling Leslie a while ago. I said, Basie chose All Right, Okay, You Win. Everything else in that repertoire I chose to do. You know, I'd have to fight him to, you know, be able to do it somewhat, but because he said, oh, you don't need that. Just do what you're doing.
Will the Basie band return more
Yes,
to
they
the
have.
Basie band now that Frank is?
They have.
Yeah.
Yeah, Grover Harris Brent has brought them right back to basic and Basie.
Oh.
Really, and it is a glorious
Yay,
thing
yay.
to hear. I mean, it's really something to hear.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's great. I can't blame Frank. I mean, you know, he wants to put his own thing together and his own music. And
He was an extension of Basie,
yeah.
as was Thad,
Yeah.
you know. Thad got his thing out there, and Frank should be able to get his own thing out
Yeah.
there as well, you know.
But it's gone right back to Basie now.
Now it is, yes.
Yeah.
It's back to, and funny, you know, the
Don't
guys.
you applaud that?
Oh,
I do.
yes.
I
The
do.
young men in there, like Bob Ogata and people like that. Bob said, man, that was the reason I came over here in the first place. I wanted to play this music that we're playing now. He said, I love Frank. Yeah, I love Frank and I love Thad. But I came over here because I wanted to play this Basie music.
That's right.
It's back where he wanted it.
Oh,
you know.
thank goodness.
And that's no bad place to be, I want you to know.
No.
Yeah. I want to thank you, George, for the archives from our Hamilton College, yours and mine.
Yeah, it has been my pleasure, Joe. And we have known for as long as we've known each other, and that's 1948.